All right, this video is on place value relationships or interpreting place value. This is something that we'll be working on throughout the year and that I don't want you to stress about because interpreting place value is a difficult thing to do. It's not impossible, and you actually know how to do it. You actually understand this already. You already know this. It's just the way they tend to ask the questions on a test that kind of trip you up or confuse you. And so one of the things that I'm going to encourage you to do as you watch this video and listen to me is to pause and think about what I just said. I'm going to try to pause and give you time to think, but I need you to really be responsible and pause the video to think about what I'm saying. It's not confusing if you go back to what you already know. And that's what we're going to do here in just a minute, okay? This slide looks terrifying. It's got lots of stuff on it and it's got a lot of stuff, but really and truly, you already know this. Look, it's saying as we go to the left, as we go from the ones to the tens to the hundreds, our numbers are getting bigger. They get 10 times bigger. Every time we move over a place, we get 10 times bigger because 1 times 10 is 10. 10 times 10 is 100. 100 times 10 is 1,000. 1,000 times 10 is 10,000. See, you already know this because you already know that these are bigger, okay? Let's go to a different site real quick. I'm just going to show you something. Okay, that's 100. You know that. Here's a 10. Which one's bigger? You know that 100 is bigger than 10. In fact, we say it's 10 times bigger. Okay? That's what this means. That's all we're talking about, okay? Is getting bigger and getting smaller, okay? If we go the other way, let's look at that. If we're going to the right, you know this. You know that if you go from the hundreds place to the tens place, you got smaller. We say you get 1/10 smaller. Say that with me. 1/10 smaller. Okay. It's still related to the number 10. That's why we call it base 10. So you're either getting 10 times bigger or 1/10 smaller. You're either getting 10 times bigger as you go to the left, or you're getting 1/10 smaller as you go to the left. To the right. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Let me say it again. As we move to the left, we get 10 times bigger. As we move to the right, we get 10 times smaller. What you need to think about is this and the word smaller, this bigger. Okay? And if you'll just connect that together in your mind, this will all make sense. Okay? So we're going to start here in a second with some easy examples, and then I'll show you kind of what it looks like sort of on a test and why it gets a little bit confusing. Okay? Okay. All right. So if I were to give you the number 334, I'm going to underline that 3. That's 300. Draw a little picture here. 1, 2, 3. 300s. And this one are 10 sticks. Who's bigger? Which of those is bigger? The underlined 3 or the circled 3? The underlined 3 is 300. The circled 3 is 30. 300 is bigger than 30. 300 is bigger than 30. What's going to happen on the test is it's not going to say that. It's going to say something like 300 is 10 times 30. Okay, they take out the bigger than and say 10 times. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. They take that bigger and smaller and replace it with 10 times or 1/10. That's why you want to connect those words. Okay, let's look at another one. Let's say I gave you 4,342. You only have to look at digits that are the same, so the 2 4s, and I'm going to circle this one. And so the underlined 4, this guy right here, is 40. My circled 4 is 4,000. Okay, so if I ask you to tell me about 40, 40 is blank 4,000. What would you say? What would you say? 40 is smaller than 4,000. That's obvious, right? You know that. In fact, it's not 10 times smaller. See, here's 10. Here's another 10. And so 10 times 10 is 100. So it's 100 times smaller, or 1/100th. Don't let the words confuse you. If you're seeing a fraction, it means that you're it's getting smaller. We're cutting it up into smaller chunks. And then 10 times means it's going to get larger, like it always has. Okay? And it's 100 because we jumped over 2 numbers. If it had been 404,000, it would have been 1/10. Okay? So let's look at what does it look like on the test. Okay? Because that's always a little bit confusing for students. So I made this a couple of years ago to help my kids with this. And so we're going to look at this number in 2 different ways. So over here, we're talking about the 6s. So circled 6 is blank underlined 6. Is the circled 6 bigger or smaller? I hope you said bigger. Because look, it's over here. It's closer to the, let's see, that's thousands, millions. It's closer to the billions than the underlined one. So it's bigger. In fact, look, it's 100 times bigger. So 100 times is what we expect to see on our paper. I'm going to do a star for the multiplication symbol. So circled 6 is 100 times underlined 6. And that's how I want you to read it too. It's bigger. Okay? Again, we'll look more specifically at some word problems like that in another spot. Let's look at this other number. It's talking about the 8s. What would you tell me about circled 8 and underlined 8? I'm trying to get a different color here. The circled 8 is blank the underlined 8. The circle 8 is what compared to the, oh, not that. I'm sorry. I did it wrong. Sorry. let's not do that. We did that already. We led with circle. Let's lead with the underline one first. Underline 8 is blank the circle 8. There we go. The underline 8 is compared to that. Well, the underline 8 is right there. So we're going that way. We're going to our right. So we're getting smaller. And on the test, they're not going to say underline 8 is smaller than circled 8. They're going to say underline 8 is 1/10. And they might put that in words too, just to make it more challenging. Circled 8. But we're not going to let that freak us out. We got this. We can handle it. It's all good. Okay? None of the teachers want you to be anxious about interpreting place value because you know this. If I ask you which one is bigger, 80 or 800, which is this example right here, you know that 80 is less than 800. You know that. You've known that for a long time. So don't let that confuse you or make you anxious. You really do know what you're doing. And it's just the words we've got to teach you to get around. And we'll look at those more specifically. Okay? This is just introducing the idea. All right. Have a great day. Don't stress on this one.